Welcome to the HerSuiteSpot experience, dishing out tips and tricks on mindset, money, marketing, and media for your life and business, and where we talk to women about how they found their sweet spot.
Hello, and welcome to the HerSuiteSpot Podcast, where leadership, culture, and strategy intersect. I'm your host, Marsha Guerrier, and today's conversation invites us to slow down and listen, not just with our ears, but with our values. So often, leadership is framed around speed, scale, and output, but there are other leadership models, older, wiser, and deeply relational, that centers healing, stewardship, and collective well-being. Today's guest brings that wisdom into modern systems work, reminding us that culture is not a nice to have, it is an infrastructure. So I'm super excited about that, which leads us right into our tip of the day. Leadership is not dominance. It is about stewardship. When leaders operate from stewardship, decisions are guided by responsibility to people, community, and future generations. That approach creates systems that are not only effective, but humane. Systems that can hold complexity, trauma, and transformation at the same time. Healing-centered leadership isn't soft, is sustainable. And I'm honored to have our guest here today, Kimber Olson. She is the founder and CEO of Juniper and Pine Consulting, LLC. She designs and delivers culturally grounded, healing-centered training for tribal nations with a focus on Indigenous regulation, trauma response, and so much more. She has over 30 years of experience partnering with these communities in Alaska. Listen, sweet mates, we are nationwide here, and I'm so excited to have you here, Kimber, today. Welcome.
Dagota Shi Bijitsi Gonse. Hello, my name is Kimber. So nice to be here with you. I'm really excited. Thank you.
I love that. Thank you for that. What I'm assuming you said hello.
I sure did. I said hello. My name is Bijitsi, which means heart song. And I am an enrolled member of the Chiricahua Apache Mimbres Band Nation. And I'm really so pleased to be here with you.
I am, as am I with you. I thank you for making space for us today to talk about, all things consulting and how you really merge your Indigenous background into the work that you do in consulting. I loved. First, let's just say you are a HerRise microgrant winner. When we saw a second chance winner at that, when we saw your application originally, we were like, oh my God, we would love to support her, but how things happen during the time. But that's why we created second chance winner opportunities, because there's always someone that we're like, that person deserves to be recognized. And, our grant gives that seed of hope. It plants that seed of hope that we want to have people keep doing the work they're doing, to be seen and to be heard. That's what HerSuiteSpot is all about. So can you share what, we want to talk about your journey and how your business came to be, specifically the niche area that you're in. But how was it to hear and learn that you've received the micro grant?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, it came at a beautiful point because to be honest with you, we had just launched. And I was facing the reality that serving Indigenous communities authentically means you can't rush trust. Yeah. So in Indian country, we have to go at the speed of trust and not at the speed of capitalism. And it also came at a time when I was struggling. I started this business completely out of pocket, and I built curriculums, I built programs. I had an incredible team of consultants who are smarter and more experienced and just have this amazing way about them. Better than me in every way, right? Which you want a room full of people that have more expertise than you. But I was personally feeling a little stuck because it's hard to build a business out of pocket, right? And really, the best thing wasn't the money. It was somebody believed in me, and somebody saw what I was doing and said, "Hey, this is important," and it made all the difference in the world. So it really made a huge difference. I invested the grant funding in relationship building infrastructure. So really looking at the ability to show up physically in communities and at conferences where trust is built face to face. And that means covering travel and at Indigenous focused conferences, community events, gatherings. And that's where the marketing happens.
Absolutely. I love that so much. We've been doing the grant. I say this probably on every episode, but I've been doing this since 2014, consistently, monthly since 2017. And no matter the amount, we fluctuate based on the donations we receive as well, and what we could do to sustain the program and all that we do. But it really was created to plant that seed of hope. We're a media company first as well, right? And so if we give you that seed of hope, we plant that seed, we share it on our platform that these are our companies that we support, it somehow ignites something in our entrepreneurs and I hear this often, that it was that spark. It was that, oh my God, I'm finally being seen. And oftentimes people report back to me that it just sparked a fire, like started getting more clients, started getting more grants and funding opportunities open up. And I think it's because it boosts that, it makes that mindset shift. It brings on a new energy into our entrepreneurs. And so diving straight into mindset and the work that you do as someone who's bridging Indigenous knowledge systems and neuroscience and system leadership, was there a pivotal mindset shift that helped you fully step into your role as the founder and CEO of this company? And, what was that pivotal moment when you knew you had to tap into this market?
Yes, absolutely. So the pivotal mindset shift for me came when I stopped trying to succeed according to Western business metrics. And I started asking, what does success look like through individual values? And so in Western entrepreneurship, you're taught to scale fast, like you were mentioning at the beginning, maximize profit, hustle constantly. But my Indigenous teachings emphasize 7-generation thinking, reciprocity, collective well-being. And so really, I had to release the fear that building slowly meant failing, and trust that building relationally means sustainability.
Yes, absolutely.
So Juniper and Pine is built on an economic multiplier model. So for every project, we compensate local knowledge keepers and elders, youth. We partner with the community to really co-develop something, not bring something and then ask them to look it over and see what they want to change, but really co-develop it with them. And then and we pay for that. We want to know, what are we doing that it feels right, and what are we doing that you would like us to change, so that it feels right for your community, so that it is right for your community. And then we reinvest 10% of our net income into client-chosen tribal nonprofits. And so our goal is that for every dollar we generate, it creates $2 to $3 in tribal community economic activity. And that's how Indigenous economies have always worked. When one prospers, the community prospers. So once I aligned my business model with my cultural values, rather than trying to figure out how to braid them, I stopped measuring success by venture capital standards. And I started measuring it by things like asking, are we strengthening Indigenous sovereignty? Are we returning resources to the communities? Are we creating conditions for collective healing? And So that mindset changed my business, but it grounded how I work with everyone in relationship in everything I do.
I love everything, but I love that you mentioned the sustainability growth path that you knew right away that you wanted to start. I've been, like, as I said, I've been in HerSuiteSpot over 10 years now, 12, 13, incorporated legally 10 years ago, 11 years ago, but doing the work before that. And so many people in my early days that were kind of on this community building. Community building wasn't a thing. It wasn't the priority as an entrepreneur. People thought I was crazy. Like, there's no money in that. And I knew I wasn't operating out of money. And we actually didn't have a grant application until a couple of years ago, because we were really focused on the give back of our revenue. And then when that started to slow down, things started to shift, the economy shifted, and the economics of everything got way out of hand. That was a hard decision that we had to make, to implement the application fee, because it has to pay for the infrastructure of everything, right? And so when you're managing the resources, and especially complex, mission-driven, system-focused work, can you share financial decision and approach that played an important role in sustaining your business while staying aligned with your values? Because I love your mission, and that money wasn't the primary focus, but your faith will lead you towards that, which I totally believe. So can you share if there was anything that, what was that decision you had to make this realization?
Yeah. I mean, definitely looking at the business model and reciprocity, but I think really leaning into what my mentors and my elders have told me about relationship, about if we choose fear, then everything will be built out of fear. And if we choose relationship, we choose people, we choose the knowledge that we come from great wealth and prosperity, and knowing that isn't about money, but it's about values, it's about relationship, that everything else comes from there, right? So it's really about also not accepting money from places that will expect something in return.
Like, if we had a clap-o-meter, I would be clapping it up for you, because we have been offered money, and we get offered money, and sometimes it just doesn't align with the mission and the values of the company.
Right. Yeah. And, one of the things in our contract is that those people who are contracting with us as practitioners, that they cannot work for an agency that is actively harming Indigenous people, right? There are so many, and that's hard to know. I mean, I think it's hard for me to know too. I don't think we
layers behind funding. There's lots of layers behind where the money really comes from sometimes. So I understand that it is very difficult.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, also accepting lower profit margins, especially initially, but that means that we're strengthening communities, and I think that creates sustainability and long-term relationships, and that's really important to me, right? And we also structured pricing to be accessible to smaller tribal programs, and balancing that. It's always a balancing act, right? Because I wanted to balance that with really compensating our 100% Indigenous team fairly for their lived experience. A lot of places that you will work or work with compensate for, my master's degree or my PhD, but those didn't teach me values. Those didn't teach me relationship. Those didn't teach me really the larger pieces of what it means to, not from an individual perspective, but from a collective perspective, to carry historical and contemporary trauma and also recognize those historical strengths and resiliencies, and to build from that. And so knowing that the greatest opportunity is the cultural, spiritual, and neurobiological wisdom that's always been ours to reclaim, right? And so knowing that organizations carry stories just like people do, and they're living entities, and they can become shaped by trauma. And when they are, they become narrow, they become reactive, fearful. But when those stories are reshaped by culture, by community, by ceremony, it returns our systems to balance. And so that's what I wanted to build my business from, which means smaller profits. It means not accepting money from places, if I can tell. It's hard to tell. But yeah, so just knowing that the challenge is not that Indigenous communities lack healing wisdom, it's that our systems have been so pulled into crisis response cycles and compliance-driven work that we've stopped using our own medicine. And that's what's going to heal us.
I love that. This is so fantastic. You mentioned so almost with every other thing you responded, it's rooted in relationship building, right? Your work is so deeply relational and trust-based, right? How have you approached marketing or visibility in the way that feels ethical, culturally grounded, and effective in reaching the right partners and communities? How are you being able to let the people that don't share your values self-identify and walk away, and not just want to jump on the coattails of the work that you're doing to get access to your community?
That's such a great question. I love it. Effective marketing across Indian country means showing up in person, showing up at conferences, showing up at events, bringing your family. I have nieces who are tribal members of the Noatak village, which is up north, outside of Kotzebue. So involving them, involving my family, being vouched for by other communities, following cultural protocols, investing in relationships, and not, for instance, asking for contracts, right? So a lot of marketing, I have found over the years when I have when I've participated in other businesses, that marketing in Western ways doesn't seem to work, right? So it's considered inefficient from a Western perspective, right? Multiple touch points over months, over years, gift giving as protocol, attending ceremonies, meeting with elders, sharing meals. And that's how trust is built after 500 years of broken promises and exploitation. And so media, to be honest, I'm very early in my journey. I'm trying to figure it out. I am not an expert at it. But the kind of media presence, I think, is not chasing mainstream business outlets that might sensationalize or misunderstand the work that we're doing, but really focusing on Indigenous media platforms, tribal publications, spaces where our communities already gather, and things like this, like talking about what's different as a woman, as a female entrepreneur, right? We're taught to nurture, not to strategize. Like from a US American cultural standpoint, we are socialized to be nurturing. And so when I fought that, it was like trying to build a business, honestly, like a man would, right? From a male perspective, to think about what's my bottom line? What is income? What can I do more of? And not that isn't, a strategy and a good one.
Right.
It's just not what I wanted to do. And so when I lean into, my Indigenous values, but also what I know as a woman, as a mother, as an auntie, as a friend, a sister, a daughter, it's that relationship, even in media, right? And so LinkedIn has been great for me to be able to share values in a way. I'm still trying to figure it out, right? How to maintain my values and who I am in the world of marketing. I don't think I have it yet, right? But I'm trying to learn.
It will slowly come. I think it is so key what you said regarding the instincts and the lessons we're given as women, and the westernized way of having to move into the world of entrepreneurship and within the small business ecosystem. But that's why platforms like HerSuiteSpot exist. That's why I founded HerSuiteSpot, to give women a space to be whole. And so to bring our values, to bring all of who we are, and use that to create the strategic plans that you need, and kind of to get to the next level, and remind ourselves, because no matter what, we fall into this cycle, like you mentioned, this heavily male dominated cycle of learning and hustling and grinding, and it oftentimes breaks. And that's why mindset is our first pillar within HerSuiteSpot, because we're going to be faced with all of these tricks that the world is hitting us with, and they're all waiting for us to fall, so they could say, aha, we told you, right? And so that's why we exist, in order to really give women the space they need to be themselves, to be the soft person that they need to be, and still while being a firm business owner. And that's why things like boss lady, those things, they're just affirming. It's not that we are trying to take over the world, which many people fear we're doing, but we're not. We're just trying to affirm ourselves most of the time.
Right. Yeah. We're trying to stay standing. Right. and yeah, absolutely.
So I want to, again, so much of what you center your conversation around is relationship, right? And relationships are central. Who are the people that shaped you? You mentioned you do have mentors. How important has it been for you to lean into those mentors, the partnerships that you're building? I love that your business is rooted so much in in-person connections and in-person community. What advice would you give to people struggling with that? Because so many entrepreneurs, they love the virtual life, and it's really, it is better in person. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I want to answer this carefully, because it is different in Indigenous communities, the concept of mentorship, right? It's not like a Western business coach or a formal mentor-mentee kind of relationship, but we have elders and knowledge keepers and relatives. And I would say some of my biggest, mentors, coaches, aunties, would be my Auntie Maria, her Apache background, and helping me learn our traditions and our culture and our ways. Our teachings, our stories, has been incredible for me. And the group of having groups of women, and they don't have to be entrepreneurs or business owners, but really groups of women who hold us up. So I spend a lot of time, connecting with and interacting with other women. Diane Payne was a longtime friend and colleague of mine. She worked tirelessly to help Native children in the child welfare system. And she was adopted into a Cheyenne home and family. And she and I worked together for 20 years. And she really was like a second mom to me. And she taught me a lot about not taking things home with me that aren't mine, and how to put tobacco down and let them go. Dr. Grandma Barbara Mann, who is Seneca, she is like this fierce advocate for Indigenous women. She's an anthropologist and a professor.
Wow.
And she taught me a lot. And I would say the other person is Grandma Rita Blumenstein, and she's passed now also, but she would, I got to spend over 20 years with her off and on, and she would say these things that were like incredibly profound, incredibly deep, incredibly rich, and they would make you like stop and your mouth would hang open. And then she would get this huge smile on her face and just start laughing. And she would say many times after she said something profound, she would say, and that's how we're going to heal the world.
Yes.
And part of what she meant was by embracing joy and laughter and people and relationships, and that's been hard for me to do. I tend to be, from very young, very, very serious. And so having people bring in joy and laughter and levity and bring that into my life and my work has been really sustaining for me.
That those relationships most often count heavily more than the relationships of, that entrepreneur type or career building type, because they ground you. They say it starts at the home, right? That's always where it starts. And so those are the relationships that give us the foundation we need in order to face the world and go do big and bold things. So I love that you paid homage to all of these phenomenal women that really gave you the foundation to know your values, to know your core values, which you have been able to build your business around. So I commend you and all of these women.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. So looking ahead, what is your vision for Juniper and Pine Consulting and your role as an entrepreneur? How do you hope your work continues to impact systems, communities, future generations? Do you foresee it going beyond the tribal nations? What do you think is next for you?
Yeah, thank you. Well, our focus really is tribal nations, programs, communities, and people. But we also want to work with mission-driven nonprofits, with allies to Brown and Black people. The world is sort of blowing up all over. There are areas of the world where there is pain.
Yeah.
And so I want to bring a systemic look at that, right? So I think a lot of businesses like mine come in and they're helping with program management, grant writing, or strategic planning. And we do that. But my work is really grounded in the 30 years I had of working in social services as a direct service provider and as a leader, and recognizing that you have to have both, right? Yes. And so we're walking with people who are carrying heavy intergenerational trauma. And so I want to honor that by helping them look at what are their values, what are their cultural mores, not mine, right? But what are theirs, and how do you build that into policy? How do you structure that into organizational themes into your strategic planning, and really braid that together and build that. And so we've got a number, I over 10 different multi-day programs that are all beyond trauma-informed. They're healing-centered, they're culturally driven. But really our signature program is working with Indigenous and Indigenous allied programs and organizations for 1 to 3 years to look at how do you bottom up and top down simultaneously bring this kind of work, this healing-centered, culturally driven work, into a systems perspective, into an organizational perspective, into policies and procedures. And we're really excited about that.
That's phenomenal. I think now you're right. We're living in such a interesting time, and all the work that you're doing is so necessary for mission-driven organizations to tap into and to re-examine, because I think that many are re-examining what their core values are right now. And to that point, how can people connect with you? How can they learn more about working with you and learning how to support the allies that are listening and would love to support?
Great, thanks. Well, you can find us at Juniper and Pine Consulting. Our website is juniperpine.org. I'm also trying to build a presence on LinkedIn under my name. For programs interested in our services, the best way to connect is probably through email, juniperpineconsulting@gmail.com. And I also really want to invite other women entrepreneurs or anyone who's building a business that honors cultural values. Please reach out. We need to hold each other up, lift each other up. It's really about all of us, and we can only rise together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kimber. It has been really great talking with you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your work, and your leadership with us. This conversation was truly powerful and reminds us that leadership, the future of leadership doesn't require us to invent anything new. Tapping into our ancestry and is really key to moving us forward. To everyone listening, let this episode expand how you define what leadership looks like, and culture can help guide your own systems. You guys know how I like to end every broadcast. Until next time, when we empower each other, we all rise. Bye for now.
Thanks for joining us this week on the HerSuiteSpot Experience. Make sure to visit our website, www.HerSuiteSpot.com. That's her, SUITE, spot.com, where you can become a member of our growing community and get great content for your life and business. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We are your strategic partners to grow your business.